Good afternoon to everyone, especially our panelists and to our listeners. So today we will be discussing an important and highly relevant issues into this digital age, which is should government regulate social media content? So social media platforms such as Facebook, TikTok, X have become a central of communication, of information sharing, and also a public discussion. However, they have also raised concerns regarding misinformation, such as hate speech, privacy leaking, and also the extent to a freedom of expression. So before I begin, I'll introduce myself. My name is Ryan bin Abdul Rahim, and I will today as a moderator, which means I will guide the discussion to ensure it remains balanced and give each panelist an equal opportunity to share their views. With us today, we have panelist number one, Zhang Wenji, who will present an argument of supporting the government regulation of social media content, and Su Hanshan in going against the government regulation, so emphasizing concerns of freedom of speech and potential misuse of power by the government. So this discussion aims to explore whether the government regulation is perhaps necessary, and if so, to what extent should we take this? So the balance between the public safety and also the freedom of speech in social media regulation should be considered. So this consideration should limited government involvement, perhaps can reduce harm without threatening the democratic values. So we will start the discussion with panelist number one, Zheng Wenji. Please share us your opinion on this topic.
So, hello everyone, my name is Zheng Wenji and I'm panelist one. So today's my opinion is I think the government should be get involved in social media management. So in nowadays digital societies, social media not only act private conversation tools, and instead they already become a deeply influenced about the public speeches and teenagers' mental health is, even though the democracies, sport or public spaces. Therefore, I think that the concept of the important is not the government should or not to enforce that. Instead of the government, if not get involved, is actually the real not responsible. So first of all, let me talk about the supervised atmosphere. If the government totally give the platform management, the social media platform will only focus on their own business benefits. They doesn't care about the customer, or we say the other usage. However, the government is the one to protect the public. If without the governments, let we imagine that the platform will share more extreme content, or they're looking for more forward data. The fake news share and emotion obsess the god, so that will make the environment become the worse and worse. So governments make the regulations, or is not to limit the expressions, is setting a minimums, we say the molarities line to protect the weakness good in the social media. And like the transportation rules is to protect the driver, and the pedalist is protect the safe instead of the limit to their freedoms. Okay, for the secondly, the freedom speech. So we do have the misunderstanding. We do have to say that first, there's not absolutely freedoms. So the government's focus on the teenager or underage groups, the limits is more like focus on the fake news systems, supervised, and the incomes to protect the society's the weakness. For example, like the alcohol, the driving, and the gambling. If the teenager they have the wrong identify for this kind of the hazard, they will like about the 10 years, after 10 years or decades, what will they do? They might to gambling or become the drummer to danger with the societies that we don't want to see that. So the third one, some of the people think the social media will become the propaganda's rules, but we have to say that the question is, without the governments, is there will be the propaganda again? I think so. They will become the social media propaganda. Like the social media want or what kind of the information gives you, then you only can reserve the what kind of that kind of the information. So it's not about the propaganda tools. It's more like do they have the regulation or the transparent accountabilities. So what if let all the platform under the law constructions? I think this is really good for the democracy society, what they should do. So finally, the government's not only acting the match, they also include the leading the education, especially for the digital educations and transparent information shared, and finally be responsible for their officials account. I think it's really good for the great, wonderful and peaceful the internet environments. So belong what I say, the government to get involved is protect the freedom instead of the control the societies, is to maintain the public benefits instead of they want to control the opinions.
Right. So thank you, Zheng Wenji, on the multiple perspective on this matter. Actually, you have said several important key factors, such as the role of social media at the public space, the risk of misinformation, like you said, without the government intervention, and the idea that the regulation can perhaps serve as a protection to its users rather than a censorship on this matter. So my next is to invite So Han-Shan, our panelist number 2, to give a response and express her own opinion on this matter.
I think there are serious risks in the direct supervision of the government. So I do not support the direct supervision of social media content by the government, especially political content. I understand why people are concerned about misinformation and harmful speech. Those concerns are valid, but my main worry is that once the government get the power to regulate one's speech, it carries serious risks for freedom of expression. According to Basha and Kashif, social media has become the primary space for public expression today. That means regulating social media is just about the platform anymore. It's about influencing public discourse itself. One important point from the article is the role of the First Amendment, which exists to limit the government's interference with speech. Expanding government control over online expression goes against that principle. Another issue the article highlights is how subjective content regulation can be. Terms like harmful content or misinformation depend heavily on interpretation. We governments make these decisions, especially about political content. They are not neutral actors. What one government calls misinformation could easily be legitimate courtesy. The article also discusses the chilling effects. We people know the government is monitoring online speech. They might start censoring themselves, even when their views are legal. So where online harm is a real issue. The rigid government's regulation carries serious risks.
All right. Thank you so much, of that for your perspective. It can be said that your concerns are regarding freedom of expression, the content regulation, and the perhaps, as you mentioned just now, the government involvement in regulating political speech. So you also highlight the idea of the function of a government intervention may directly shape public discourse. So based on this, I can say that both of the panelists' opinions are clear contrast between emphasis on public protection and also the government overreach of the regulations. So thank you both for your perspective. As we go in deeper, I would like to ask to our panelist number 1, Zheng Wenji.
Yes.
Could government intervention potentially perhaps have a negative effect on the social media platform if they were to intervene?
So we don't want to defend it, but yes, but I have to say the all public, the power, they do have the overuse possibles, the overuse, over supervise, over actions without the transparency. Even though the choosing actings, though those will delay the public trust, which is not good for the governments. So the risk is existing, but it doesn't mean to let all regulation or let all rules from the platform is good or more safely choice.
Right. So you said that there is a risk perhaps in the government intervention. Now, would you say that if let's say the government does not intervene at all, so I'm just curious, who will set the rules for these social media platforms?
Okay, so if we saying that who will get the benefit, which have the most, then who will to make the regulation? So the answer is really clearly. The platform will focus on themselves to make decisions, which is always focused on their business benefits. So they will not, as I just said in the previously speech, the company or the platform, they will not care about the public, the benefits, which we're looking for more extremist content, and emotional will be become the MAC. Underage will be exposed under the risk. So this kind of the question is actually when the platform without the supervised, or we say the governments, they could be, and the governments not only act as supervised, they only also acting others as some such as the medias to protect or leading the negotiate with the platform. So I think this is really important. The government are doing some protect of the future to reduce kind of the system hazards. So that's my opinions for that.
So thank you for the explanation, Zheng Wenji. So perhaps to say that you acknowledge the risks of government intervention, but you also said that non-intervention also will allow platform to prioritize commercial interests over the public welfare of the public welfare of the people. So my next question is to Su Hanshan, our panelist number 2. Would you say that government should not be involved at all in the social media content, as you are opposing the government intervention in this social media content?
Not at all. I'm not agreeing for zero government involvement. According to Bashar and Kashif, the real concern is direct government control over speech, not supportive for roles like transparency, education, or enforcing existing laws. Governments can help carry several environments without deciding which openings are acceptable.
Right. Thank you, Sanchan. So, as you said just now, your concern, I mean, from what I get, is that your concern is not the government involvement itself, but actually it's the control, how perhaps if they were to intervene, the government could control over speech, particularly political expression of the people. So my next question, back to Zheng Wenji, could perhaps the government lead to restriction on freedom of speech, as mentioned before by Su Hanshan, or perhaps even risk turning social media into a propaganda tool, like you just mentioned just now?
Yeah. Okay, so with the free speech and propaganda, will the platform become the government propaganda? So we do have to clear the two identifiers first. The supervised platform, it doesn't mean the control the opinions in the social medias. So the governments get involved. Is focusing on the platform structures system, and like the data analysis, like the teenagers protections and the fake news experimenting systems. So why the citizen cannot or could be have some kind of the opinions? Yes, we do lacking of the system like in this kind of the environment. However, government public they do also have the possible to using the social media to share some event or control some. They do some of the, it's not all, but some of them might to control the influence of the conversation like that event. But it's not the focus on the social media have the questions. It's for all the public, the public folder. They do have this kind of the citizens risk. So therefore, under the democracy society, there's under the more multiple constructions. The system supervise, the law investigate, and the multiple, or we say the diversity, social media, environment, and citizens supervise for that. So the truly risk is not for the supervised themselves. Is should be, do they have the transparency, accountability, just as I mentioned before, and like for talking about the what they do, like we say we can looking back at 1 month ago, I think maybe it's 1 month, maybe 2 months, the Australia government actually they truly passed the protect of the underage laws, which means the under 16 teenager, they cannot use social media. But it doesn't mean it not allow the teenager or the kid using the social media. They just transfer the power from themselves to the parents. The parent can select what kind of the situation is suitable for this age or suit for the teenager. It's a protection, like the wrong identify, I just mentioned, the drug, the alcohol. They might the wrongly identify for the alcohol become the drummer, or they might connect too early with some medicine which is not really good for the kid. And the driving, the identify, they do have the really script for the safety, then they can use the car. This is the good for or benefit for all the society, not only for the kids. So that's my opinion for this one.
Right. By saying that, is there any potential problem around this stage?
Of course, they do have the potential risk. As I mentioned, all the public power, they do facing the overuse risk. But what should the government do, and what should we do? Like the legal supervised agency, the law investigation, and the multiple or diversity social media environment, and the citizen supervise. This is a kind of the plan to control this risk, the overuse power risk. Yes, that's my.
Right. So thank you for your response, Zheng Wenji. So it will be said that the regulation should be accompanied by transparency and accountability, as to say that you said the issue is not the regulation itself, perhaps. So my next question is to Su Hanshan. We have mentioned before about the freedom of speech and also the harmful content without the government intervention. So where would you perhaps draw the line between these two important matters?
In my view, the law should be driving at clearly legal content, such as direct service or incitement to violence.
Right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Su Hanshan. So the boundary should be limited to clearly illegal content, so such as incitement and also the violence that you mentioned. So back to Zheng Wenji. In your previous answer, you mentioned you outlined about the government's model that actually relies on accountability, as you mentioned, transparency and the checks and balances, like you said before. So considering the practical challenges of implementing such a system, would you say that this model of government's intervention is overly idealistic?
So when we talk about this kind of the platform is quite idealistic, I would like to say all the public political when they mentions at first, all will be the idealistics, like the environment protection probably will conflict with the economic improve, and also for the financial supervise, they also might be damage for the your economics improve. This is at first they might have some hazards or some wrongly points. Also for the food safety rules, the transport rules, which is not any kind of the rules is easily to go in. But there's not people defend on doesn't want to cancel it. It's important is the political meaning is not totally to actions. It's encouraging change actions. The platform will change because of the regulation change and reside the platform. Or the parents school will more care about the kids' digital educations. And for the societies might be have the new regulation and new boundaries listen of the social media. That is what we want to do. Like the example, just after the 1 week after the Australia, they had the regulation, which is for the key protections, and the Malaysia also do this one for the underage or the under 16 teenagers. This is good, right? We enhance the environment change. With not only the single countries realize that the more and more country they have the more script the regulation for the kids using the technology or the platform. I think it's really good. It represents the we do want to a greater or wonderful the digital social media's environments. So yes, this what I want to say with the
Right.
identity.
I see. So what I can get is that you said that it could perhaps be idealistic at first, but it's also important in the shaping the behavior, promoting digital education, and encouraging a responsible online environment to its users, especially kids, teenagers who's using this social media platform.
Yes.
So next is my question is to Su Hanshan, our panelist number two. So far, your arguments have emphasized the importance of protecting freedom of speech. So considering that, I would like to ask, would you say that the public safety is more important than the freedom of speech?
Public safety is extremely important, but freedom of speech shouldn't be sacrificed too easily. When speech restrictions expand beyond the clear legal boundaries, they can weaken democracy's participation.
All right.
Yeah.
Like see, just now, Zheng Wenji have also mentioned about the government intervention could perhaps be transparent and also limited. So my question is again to you, to Anshan. Let's say if the regulation were perhaps transparent and limited, would you still oppose this regulation?
Transparency helps, but it doesn't eliminate the risk. Once the regulatory power exists, it can be expanded or misused by future governments. So even limited regulation needs to be approached very cautiously.
Right. So I can say that from Sohanchan's answer that the concerns about the risk of misuse, even with limited regulation, you will still concerns about this. So I will say that thank you both to our panelists for sharing their final point. Now we've heard now the risks of benefits of government regulation, such as importance of public safety and also the freedom of speech. So I'd like to give you both a chance to comment briefly on each other's opinion. So panelist number one, Zheng Wenji, perhaps do you have any response to Su Hanshan's answer concerned about the potential misuse of regulation and the control of speech that we mentioned just now?
Yeah, I'd like to have some different idea with the freedom speech, which is the propagandas. Like we say, we cannot afraid the overuse power and then to reject the manage that actually is we give our power with the public space control it, and then we give him back to the platform, which is represent the data analysis and capitalisms. It's not good for the all societies, not good for the citizens. And if we start it, they might have another more fielders. They might become the less and less supervised with the governments, and also will influence to back to the citizen. They will less their powers will become the less and less. So that what I want to say, we cannot just afraid it and then to totally give out. That's what I want to say with the freedom speech and the propaganda with the Hanshan's opinions.
All right. So perhaps Hanshan, you have a counter opinion on this matter?
I understand the panelist wants the points about good intentions and public safety, but my concern is about power, even with transparency. Giving governments control over online speech can easily limit free expression, especially political speech.
All right. From Suhan Shan, so after hearing Zhang Wenji's explanation on how government intervention could be implemented responsibly with also transparency and accountability to perhaps change the behavioral change in social media account. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you see any aspect which you perhaps agree with this statement or perhaps you disagree with this statement?
I agree that accountability sounds good in theory, but in practice, governments as neutral. Even gradual regulation can still make people self-censor, which is why I remain concerned.
All right. Perhaps Zhang Wenji, have you have any opinion on this matter?
Yeah, I do really appreciate to have the chance to discuss with our panelists too. Like the difference identifies, we both want to enhance the environment change, or we want to have a better social media environments. So even though we do have the kind of the opinions, but I really think of this kind of the discuss with these topics. And really thanks of the you two guys for Ring and Shannon. That's it.
So, all right. So thank you both panelists, Zhang Wenjing and Sohan Xian, on your perspective. So today we have explored whether government perhaps should regulate the social media content, and it is clear that this issue is a complex issue, and there is no simple answer to this. So from what I gather on all of our discussion just now, Zhang Wenji highlighted the importance of government intervention to protect public interest, promote accountability, safeguard vulnerable groups, and perhaps to foster a more responsible digital environment, especially to teenagers and kids. And from Suhan Shan, I can get that you emphasize the potential risk of regulation, particularly the threat to freedom of speech and the possibility of misuse, even if perhaps the regulation is transparent and also limited. So what we can take away from this discussion is that the importance is the public's balancing about the public safety and digital responsibility towards the freedom of expression is perhaps indeed a delicate task. So regulation should be approached carefully and with transparency and with public oversight if it were government were to intervene on the social media content. So I would say thank you both for your contributions and thank you to everyone for listening to this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.